Hello, I'm Miss Ashley from Fibo Kids Art Academy, and welcome to another amazing art class. Today, we are traveling to Ohio, a state located in the Midwest region of the United States. Ohio has a warm climate during the day and is cold and comfortable at night. The cardinal is the state bird, the state animal is the white-tailed deer, and the state flower is the carnation. One thing that makes Ohio stand out from the rest of the U.S. is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Today, we are going to be drawing a guitar inspired by the place. For a list of supplies, be sure to check the description of this video. Let's go ahead and get started. So as I said earlier, today we're going to be drawing a guitar inspired by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm just going to go ahead and put this aside so we can get started with our practice draw. Make sure that you're using a pencil, but I'm going to be using a Sharpie so you can see my lines. Make sure your paper is horizontal. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be drawing a slanted rectangle. So I'm going to be drawing two slanted lines, making sure that they're parallel from one another. And then I'll connect. Now I do need to draw the top of that guitar, so I'm going to draw two slanted lines coming out and two more slanted lines. Slanted lines coming in and connect. All right, this part can get a little bit tricky, so I recommend watching first before drawing on your own. We're going to start right here on the neck of the guitar. We're going to curve down and up. And we're going to do the same thing at the bottom, only this time it's going to be a little bit lower. Curve down and up. Awesome. Now, we're going to curve out and then down. And same thing on the bottom. Curve down. Now, we need to draw the bottom of our guitar. So we're going to be drawing a large letter C. So I'm going to curve out, over, down to connect. Now I do need to add the side of our guitar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be starting at the top here of our guitar on the right side, slanted line, and slant. So basically I'm just following the same lines on the bottom, making sure they're parallel from each other. And then bring that curve and finish right there. If you need to re-watch that part, you can go ahead and press pause on the video and watch it again. Do the same thing here. I'm going to start on the top, go out and down. Again, I'm just following that same shape. I'll do the same thing here too. Out and down and out. That is actually it for our practice draw. We're going to be drawing this guitar again, only this time we're going to be adding just a few more details. So I'll go ahead and put this aside so we can move on to our final draw. Make sure you're still using that pencil though for your final draw. I'll be using a Sharpie so you can see my lines. Again, make sure that your paper is horizontal, which means side to side. And we're going to draw two slanted lines parallel from each other. And then we'll connect. All right, for the top of the guitar, we'll draw those two slanted lines coming out. Slanted lines, remember, make sure that they're parallel from one another. Slant in and connect. All right, we're now going to draw the body of that guitar. So starting on the top of that neck of the guitar, we're going to curve down and up. And same thing, only this time is a little bit lower. Curve down and up. Then curve out and down, down on a curve. Now again, if you do need to watch this step again, you can always rewind the recording and go back and watch the step again. I'm going to draw that large letter C to connect to the bottom. The large letter C, and back up. All right, we do need to draw the side of our guitar. So what we're going to do is starting on the top, we're just going to go down and follow those lines. So remember, whatever we drew here needs to be the same on the bottom. So it's parallel from one another. But then we're going to end that at a curve there. Same here, curve down. And curve along that side. Awesome, so we're back to where we were with our practice draw. So now we're going to go ahead and add those details. First, I'm going to go here and draw 3 small rainbows. And I'll do the same thing here. 1, 2, 3. Then, below each small rainbow, I'm going to draw a circle. All right, once that's done, I'm going to add those details to my guitar. Starting at the bottom of that neck, I'm going to curve out, and same here. Then I'm going to curve down and bring that back so it almost looks like a fish hook. And then I'm going to curve up around here and back up. Now I made sure not to connect in the middle because I'm actually going to continue those lines ever so slightly and add a U-shaped curve. Because I'll draw 2 slanted lines and then connect. This is where our strings are going to attach. So right now what we need to do is we need to grab a ruler. And how I like to do this first is I go down to the bottom and add 6 lines. Because each of those circles need to connect to one of those lines. So let me show you, for example, I'm going to start the bottom one right here. I'm going to draw an ever so slightly slanted line. And then I'm going to line it up. So I'll take my pencil that you're using a pencil, I'm using a Sharpie, and I'll connect those lines. So slanted line, and then bring it down to the next line. Slanted line, and connect. So again, this works best if you do have a ruler. You can use the side of your practice draw if you don't have that ruler. But we're just making sure that we're connecting all of those lines. Because those are the strings to our guitar. All right, now we need to add the lines for our background. How we're going to do that is we're going to first draw a curve going up and down. Up and making sure that it meets in the middle. Go down. So we're repeating this step a bunch of times. So we're going to be doing this 5 times. Curve up. And there we go. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So it's like we're going to be drawing the letter S. So there's the letter S. S, making sure it meets in the middle. And again, and you're doing this 5 times. And that is it for our final draw. So make sure that you have those guitar strings, you've added what you did to the background, because when you're done with your picture, it should look something like this. So here's mine. I'll be adding those guitar strings in just a short moment. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking out my Sharpie. So your picture should look something like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to outline everything except for this shape in the middle. So everything else needs to be outlined. So I'm just going to take that time with my Sharpie, making sure that that cap is on the back. I'm holding low and going slow. Remember, please don't outline that shape in the middle. All right, again, I'm just outlining. Now, if you're still either working on that background or maybe you're fixing up those guitar strings, no worries, you can always press pause on the video and come back. And again, I'm just following along, making sure that it's parallel. Add those rainbows. And remember, I'm not outlining that shape, but I am going to outline this part where those strings connect. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to connect. So I may have to draw those scented lines to connect. Scented line and draw. Just make sure that those lines are pretty straight. All right, just add a few more. Just make sure it's nice and even. All right. Then don't forget to make sure that your lines are drawn in as well. You're also going to do this with Sharpie. All right, almost done. And when you are done, you're going to erase any of those pencil lines that were not covered by your Sharpie except for those lines inside of your guitar. Now your guitar can look different from mine. If you wanted to add the hole right there, or maybe you wanted a different shape, that is up to you. So I'm just going to take that moment to erase those lines. All right, so there is that. The first thing that I am going to be doing is I'm going to be taking out my gray. So I have a gray marker right here. I'm going to color the neck of my guitar. And I'm just using those nice long strokes. I'm also coloring the side of the guitar as well. Not the entire thing, just the neck of it. Then I'll put that away, making sure that all parts of that are colored. Now you can use whatever colors you want for your guitar, but I'm going to be using yellow for the top by outlining and filling it in. All right, and as I said earlier, you can use whatever colors you want. I am going to be using gray for the bottom here. And filling that in. Then I'm going to be using red, but I'm going to leave this area white right here. So I'm going to take my red, making sure that cap is on the back. I'm going to outline first, and I'm also going to fill in the sides right here, because I'll come back and make those darker in just a moment. Again, I'm just outlining. Also the side right here. And use those long strokes to fill it in. I want to make sure that I don't have any white spots. And if you need to turn your paper around just to make sure that you get all that area of the guitar, you can go ahead and do so. Alright, still outlining and filling it in. As I said earlier, you can use any colors that you would like. And I will be adding a few designs later on. If you wanted to add some designs, now is your moment, but I'm going to be doing that in paper later. I'm going to turn my guitar around just so I can get those other areas. I like to turn my paper around just so my arm doesn't brush on top of my wet marker, because I don't want that red to smear on the white area. All right, bring that in. All right, almost done filling that in. I'm still using those long strokes top to bottom. And there is my guitar. So I'm going to go ahead and put my markers away. I'm going to take out my colored pencils next. Now I'm going to be going for darker colors like purple in place of red, or blue in place of gray. So with my purple right now, I'm actually going to be coloring the side of my guitar. That way it shows that it's a little bit darker. Now, if that purple might not be dark enough, you can always switch to blue, or maybe if you have a darker red, you can use that as well. But I'm just going over, making sure that that side is dark. Not the top of my guitar, this side. All right, and then I'm going to go for the side of my guitar here with my blue. And then I'm going to use orange for the top. All right, so there is my guitar. We're going to go ahead and switch now to chalk pastels. Now you can use any colors that you want for your chalk pastels. I'm going to make mine look really vibrant and bright. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking my yellow. And I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to go over those lines. So I'm just going to pinch and pull. Just make sure I covered all that area. And if you go outside of those lines, that's okay. This definitely does not have to be extremely accurate, because we are going to be adding more color. I'm just making it look like these lines are glowing. I'll put that away. I'm going to take one finger and I'm just going to blend back and forth. So now your picture should look something like this. Once done with that, I'm going to take my pink. Now again, you can use whatever colors you'd like, but I'm going to make sure that I'm using a gradient. So for mine, I'm going to be going for pink. I'm going to take my pink and I'm going to go around those lines and around my guitar. Now I'm holding it from the tip, but making sure that I'm using the flat side, which we call the medium side of our chalk pastel. You can even use this side. I'm making sure that it's a fairly thick line. All right, making sure that I'm getting all around there. A little bit of dust goes a long way, so you don't need a whole lot of dust. All right, so once that is done, go ahead and put your color away. I used pink. I'm just going to take one finger and I'm just going to blend around my guitar and my lines. Now with the yellow right here, it's okay to go over your pink slightly because you do want to create that nice gradient. I'm getting as close as I can to my guitar because I don't want to see any of the white paper by the time I'm done. So if you do need to use your pink again or whatever color you use, that's okay. Just try your best to go as close as you can. All right, there's that. Now I'm going to take the next color, which is my darker pink, and I'm going to do that same thing around the lighter pink. It's okay if you do go over the pink somewhat because we do want to create that gradient. I'm just using this side. Putting that away and blend some more. I'm still just using one finger and I'm not blending back and forth. I'm just following along with the side. I'm still making sure that I'm getting all of that paper. And around again. All right, now I'm going to be switching to purple. And I want quite a bit of purple, so I'm actually going to go over my pink. I'm just going to fill up the rest of my paper with my purple. All right, getting close. Since I do want more purple on my paper, I am going to take it a little bit more onto the pink. That way, so I know it's nicely blending together. Let's add a line there. And then I'll put my purple away and blend. And I'm making sure to take that purple on top of the pink and blend. Now you can do the same method with light blue to dark blue. You can do it from green to blue. or orange to red if you have a different colored guitar. So when you're done, it should look something like this. But I do need a little bit more purple on the top here and the bottom. So I'm just going to keep blending. Again, it's okay to go over your other color because we do want that nice gradient. All right, when you're done, make sure to tap off all that dust from your paper. See if there's any more areas that you need to blend. But when you are done, it should look something like this. We do need to add those music notes though, but we need to make sure that our area is super clean. So I do have my wet wipes here. I'm going to take that. I may actually need two because purple is such a strong color. And I'm going to put my chalk pastels away and clean my hands and my table. I want to make sure my hands are really clean because we are going to be moving on to cutting out paper and gluing it onto our picture. So take that moment, grab those wet wipes. If you need to run and wash your hands, then go ahead and do so. You can press pause on the video. I'm just making sure that I have no chalk dust under my nails and my hands are neat and pretty. Again, you may need another wet wipe. And then I'm going to clean my table because I've got all this chalk dust right here. I want to make sure that I don't have any of that left on the table. Make sure it is really cleaned off. You don't want to change that chalk dust instead of like this cakey mud type. So it'll still get all over the table if it's not cleaned up. All right, so once your area is all clean, make sure to go ahead and toss aside your wet wipes because we're actually going to be putting our picture aside, making sure that your table is clean so we can move on to cutting out our shapes that we need. What we're going to do is you're going to grab all sorts of different colored paper. Doesn't matter what color it is. I've got some blues, I've got yellows and greens, all sorts of different types of colors. What you're going to do is you're going to be making a shape that kind of looks like some flickering lights going on. And I'll show you with Sharpie, but I want you to make sure that you're doing this in pencil. What you do, taking your pencil, is you're going to draw these U-shaped curves going around to create those flickers of light. So let me show you right here, for example. Curve, so it's almost like a smile, smile, that then turns to a frown. And make sure you're drawing this pretty big. Make sure it's not too small like a dime. Make it really big. Curve, curve, and curve. After you've drawn a whole bunch of those, you're going to cut it out. Now I like to make sure that I'm using pencil when I do this just because I don't want those black lines to show up. So I recommend that you use pencil for this, or you can just flip your paper the other way around. So make sure to cut that out. And so you should have a shape like this. You're going to need a whole bunch of these in all sorts of different colors because we're going to do some mixing and matching. I have a whole bunch right here. I probably won't use all of them. I have some that are orange and blue, green, pink, and yellow. Go ahead and take this moment. You can either create one and use it as a stencil. So for example, I have mine right here. I can easily take that, grab a pencil, and trace along that shape I had created earlier. That makes it a little bit faster. But make sure you take that moment to cut out a whole bunch of those flickering light shapes and cut them out, because you should have a whole bunch for our next step. So go ahead and press pause on the video so we can move on to our next step. Just make sure you do have a whole bunch of these different types of shapes with all sorts of different colors, and I will see you in a short moment. Now that you are done cutting out all of those shapes, we need to glue two of them together. I recommend making sure that you have each of those colors different, so I'm definitely not going to be gluing blue and blue together. Instead, I'm just going to color match and see what works best. So for example, I've got pink right here. Looks really nice with that yellow. I'm going to glue them together, but I'm going to make sure that they don't overlap completely. So you can have one a little bit off to the side. So let me show you, for example, let me scooch these over to the side of Fibo. I'm going to take my glue, and I'm just going to put a bit on there and glue it on. So that way I can see both of those colors. After I've glued that, I'm going to put it on my picture wherever I would like. So I will glue the back, and then I'll find a spot to put it on my picture. So I think I'm just going to put mine right there. Doesn't matter where you put it, you can put it wherever you would like. So I do have this green and pink. I'm going to do the same thing, making sure that I can see both colors. Glue it there, glue the back, and place it on my picture. And it's okay if it overlaps off the picture. It actually makes it look really interesting if you do that. I've got blue and yellow. I'm going to glue part of my blue, stick the yellow on, glue the back, place it right there. You can put those wherever you would like on your picture. That is up to you. I've got orange here. And my blue there. I'll put that right there. And I'll place that on my picture. Now luckily I do have one more, and I'm going to put it on the corner right there of my guitar. I've got my green, and I'll place that on the bottom of my guitar. All right, so now that we have those, you can add more if you'd like to, or you don't even have to add any at all. But now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut out some basic shapes to add some stickers to my guitar. So you can always go back to those scraps that you had earlier. I'm just going to put that to the side. I'm going to add some fun little stickers to my guitar. I'm first going to draw a star. So I'll draw a star for my guitar. I'll draw it closer to the bottom there. So I drew that in pencil, and it's a little tricky to see, so I'll draw it a little bit darker. I can then take my scissors. I can cut out that star, making sure I can easily save that paper and use it for something else. I'm going to go ahead and cut out that star. And making sure that I don't see those pencil lines, I am going to glue the side with the pencil lines. It's okay if it's not perfectly even. It makes it look more interesting if it is a little bit more organic. So I'm going to glue this side with my pencil side on it. I'm just going to add some fun stickers to my guitar because this is your guitar, so it can look any way that you would like. I can also add a lightning bolt. And I can easily cut that out. And there's my lightning bolt. Just make sure that you do cut off all bits of that paper. Glue the side that has your pencil lines on it. And then place it on your guitar. I'm just going to add a blue heart. And I'll just cut out that heart. So if you're still trying to think of some shapes to use for your guitar, you can always pause this video and draw those shapes and then glue them in. But I am just about done with that heart. And then I'm just going to glue that heart onto my guitar. If you want to, you can go in with markers and add details to that guitar, or those stickers, excuse me. So here's my heart there. I can take some markers or colored pencils. I can add a little bit more interesting things to those stickers just so they're not too plain. But I'm just going to make sure my small scraps are thrown away in the garbage. I still need my glue, so I'll have Fibo hang on to it for a little bit. I'm just going to go in with marker and make those stickers interesting. So I'm not going to be doing anything to the flashing lights around the guitar. I'm just going to go in and make those stickers a little bit more interesting. So I can take my markers, draw some hearts. Make some more lines on those stickers. We still need to cut out a few more things, and what we're going to be drawing are some music notes. So make sure you take some black paper, because music notes are black. And what you're going to do is you're going to draw an oval, two straight lines coming up and connect. But you need to make sure to erase that small line where the oval and the straight lines meet. So you should have this shape right there. Same with this note here. Draw that oval. Draw two straight lines, but this line here needs to be a little bit shorter because curve down and then curve back. You can also create all sorts of different notes if you would like to. I'm going to stick with these two notes, but you're going to be drawing one note for each of those flashing lights. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll need to make sure to cut those out. So I'll just cut this first one because I have some already cut for us. So if you need to pause this video to draw those music notes, you can go ahead and do so and cut them out. Make sure you are using that black paper. And then after you have those notes cut out, make sure to put your scrap paper aside if it's large enough, because you should have a whole bunch of different music notes. So here's some. You can even connect some of those together if you want to add a little bit more. Because on those flashing lights, you are going to add those music notes. So, for example, I'm just going to glue one right here. I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to spread it around and glue it on top. And I can even add a bottom one right there too. And it's up to you where you place those music notes on your lights. You can add 2 if you want, or you can add just 1. That's up to you. So I'm going to add 1 up there as well. I'll move this, and it's fun to have them slanted because it makes it look a little bit more dynamic. So make sure you don't have it perfectly straight up and down. Make sure to tilt them left or right, but make sure they're not upside down. So I'm going to add those ones right here. Again, it's okay if it goes off of the paper. It makes it look really interesting. I'm actually going to move this one slightly this way since that one's already pointing that way. I am going to glue a bit more on my picture. All right, and there, whoops, glued the wrong side, that's okay. You have to go down like that. Actually, we'll fix that. And there are your music notes attached to your picture. That was our last step for our picture. So if you're still working on either gluing or maybe you're cutting out those notes, you can always press pause on the video. But this is our picture inspired by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame located in Ohio. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had a lot of fun learning about the state of Ohio and drawing a picture inspired by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Please make sure to post your pictures online. We would love to see them, and we will see you next time. Bye.